Hello, hello, hello. So exciting. It's always a little bit of a crapshoot to see if everything's working.
When we
but
usually do Wicked Opportunities Live, it's usually just Yvette and I, but this is an extra special day because we have
remember, we gotta wait a minute. We gotta wait a minute. We gotta let them like
Illustrious.
file into the
Yeah.
room.
illustrious. Yeah, they're just filing in nice.
I think it's inside the actor's studio today.
A little bit.
That
Just a little
feeling. We're showing more of the studio.
Mhm.
We had to fit us all.
Yeah, no, right, right. There's a whole joke there, but yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it is 12, so welcome everyone to Wicked Opportunities Live. And as I was saying, but I was so rudely interrupted, that we had
Premature. You were a little premature. Just a little bit
Don't
premature.
say that. we had the illustrious futurist Nicole Baker Rosa, which makes the whole show better.
The whole office is a buzz. Is a buzz. The dog, Me,
yeah.
the pest control guy.
Yeah, everyone's here. And I'm excited. I obviously have not been in the studio on camera with you both the same time. We've seen each other, even not that much. You and I saw each other a lot
We were
in
in
Dubai.
Yeah.
But Frank, I haven't seen you since the holidays.
I know, and I'm not very seeable these days with my neck.
Okay,
Right.
so Frank, your audio's cutting out in and out. Can you just check your double check your wires there, please?
Yeah, I think,
Thank you.
but I don't,
Just make sure.
okay. Very good.
Okay. We'll give it a check here and see.
See if it's cutting in and out.
All
still.
right, so we'll
What's
do it.
happening?
We'll do it. All audio cutting in and out. That's great. That's
It
amazing.
might be this edition.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
might be the addition of that.
It's me. I'm the reason.
All audio cutting in and out. Okay. So
Mm.
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, Nicole, don't say anything for a minute. Let's see if we're also on a delay, which also makes this really fun to try to sort out any technical issues. Good now.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's weird because like there's a delay. So good now, I think was before I even turned that off.
Maybe it's a
Maybe
few
I was
seconds.
too excited and did a
right.
movement I shouldn't have.
I'm gonna turn you back on. We're going to turn you back on and we're going to see if we continue to have issues. So let's see. Emily's typing on Slack. While we're getting settled, I love that people are chiming in. We have some friends in the chat.
Narita and Vincent. And Zoe, hello.
The extra day of the year, leap day, only happens. I have my stepmother was born on February 29th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she's only like 12 years old now. Only has a birthday.
My daughter
4 years.
is 5.5, and there is a Barbie episode where they go on a cruise ship. And the youngest sister, I forget the name, it's not Skipper, Chelsea, on this cruise ship, it's leap day year. And so she misses her birthday. So Zoe was very concerned, my daughter Zoe, was very concerned about today and missing birthdays.
That is a little bit wild, the whole leap year.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, we did get it. So we get an extra day, I
To
guess.
straighten things out, to straighten out the solar calendar.
All right.
So,
Well, you guys keep us honest in the chat. If you have trouble hearing any of us,
yeah,
let us know.
if it's cutting out because we did something a little bit different today. So, that's how technology works, right?
It's emergent.
It's emergent. It really is. But we are excited, as Frank said. In the past, our Wicked Opportunities live stream has just been Frank and myself. Like, it might not be apparent to everybody. So why do we do like a Wicked Opportunities live separate than like other stuff that we do? The Wicked Opportunities brand for us has always been an opportunity for us to really be provocative and think differently, even outside sort of the foresight arena. And then we started doing the live stream to further that sort of idea.
That's right.
Stemming off the podcast, which is in a bit of a hiatus right now, our traditional podcast. We'll get back to it here in the next little while. But Nicole and I'm happy to.
There's a lot of work that goes on in this office. Clients, training, creation of all kinds of, and so it's like let's just add one more thing. But that is so TFSX culture.
We don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop here.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. So we've kept the live stream going, which is good. Like once a month we do this live stream.
Yes.
And in 2024, we added the capability to have guests with us because we had the team figure out how to Zoom the YouTube live stream.
Zoom the YouTube.
So that's why we have that fun watermark on there.
They're on the Facebook.
Right.
The Facebook.
So we've had some guests. And you weren't even at the last one, Frank, the last live stream. I was holding down the fort.
Yeah.
That was our
partially in Spanish. And so I think I got it.
it ended up being 100% in English, but yes, you would have been more than welcome regardless. But yes, so then coming into this one, we had planned a few months ago. Believe it or not, we do plan that far ahead sometimes. Sometimes it's emergent. Sometimes we plan. we had planned to say, why have we never had Nicole as a guest? And originally the idea was just to have her Zoom in from her, home office, like we typically see her. And she doesn't live too far away, but far enough away where she's not going to be coming into the office all the time. Hour and a half, 2 hours. How long did it take you today?
An hour 45.
Oof.
Oh,
It's worth
okay.
it.
So I was
It's
gonna say
worth
a
it.
good
I
hour,
mean-
and you'd be like, oh,
But don't worry, we're going to give her lunch. We're going to give her lunch. So
Sushi for lunch.
sushi for lunch is
I'm
on its
looking
way.
forward to that.
And so so Nicole earlier this week was like, hey, looks like I might be able to like work out an actual in-person visit. So I had the house, the office cleaners come, they cleaned up, just make sure
Yeah.
it's real nice.
Everything's sparkling.
Did all the air fresheners in here this morning just for you. I even bathed the dog. Like we really pulled out all
Went
the
all out.
stops here. But yeah, no, we're excited. We don't get to see Nicole in person
know.
enough.
I know.
So this is amazing. So we've got a little bit of an expanded view of the office. So as Nicole said, so we can all fit. And the topic here is us, because who doesn't want to hear more about us? No,
What we know best.
the team has really indulged me this year because I am definitely in a having a moment here with the whole Taylor Swift thing.
This
I'm
is all
having a
Taylor,
moment.
in case you missed it somehow, this is a Taylor Swift episode. Of
Inspired,
Wicked
yes,
Yeah.
inspired, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And today, the NFL has started contract talks with Taylor Swift to play Super Bowl 59, which they, I think, said would be
Smart.
$1 billion windfall.
I want tickets today.
Billion.
So there's that.
$1 billion.
Yeah, so my interest in Taylor Swift has sort of emerged the last year or so. I really have, from a business perspective, a lot of respect for her because she is a damn boss. Someone said the other day that now that the queen has passed away, she is the most famous woman in the world.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we got to talking about how, like, Taylor talks about her eras and that we also have sort of eras of our lives as futurists.
And I would say, I think everybody listening does too. And I think that's one of the things we wanted to say today is that, what inspired us to become futurists through our futurist eras? And then how are you inspired to be a futurist through your futurist eras or enter your futurist era? What empowers you to inspire others and transform the world?
And there's no right way to do this.
That's right.
You'll see how all of our stories are different. We speak to all of you. Your stories are unique. There's no linear path.
No.
So wherever you are, this can be your next chapter.
I think I love that about foresight so much.
Yeah.
It's like, and the way we practice foresight, especially, like we just think everyone should think this way. And had some conversations even with the Dubai Future Foundation. We were in town in Dubai last week about just like
in town. Dubai's not a town.
I've been
I
in
can
Dubai
tell you.
in town.
Short of town.
Kissimmee's not a town. I've been in Dubai 3 times in the last like 3 months.
Yeah,
So you'll forgive me if I use wrong terms
Yeah.
because I'm perpetually jet
When you're in
lagged
your
now.
backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm actually asleep right now.
But there was a conversation with our friends there about like, is, foresight should only be a standalone profession? Should it be a profession? Should everybody just do it? And I mean, I think any of those discussions where there's, black or white or, I think you get into trouble. We really believe that, foresight's an operating system. And so people come to it at different stages of their lives. Some people, like my kids, have been exposed to it since they were children. I mean, Zoe is how old?
She's 5.5. The half is very important.
Yes. And she actually pretends to be on Zoom with me and Frank. So,
She does.
I mean,
That's her
we're-
normal.
We're molding children. But yeah,
Something interesting that you just said now, because my views on this, shift back and forth a little bit. But obviously foresight, futures thinking is a profession, a field, and you can get your master's degree and your PhD in it.
I believe you have it.
Yeah.
Right? You have your
Yeah.
master's degree. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I have master's degrees too, just not in foresight.
Right. It's like, before Christ, we were before foresight is our
Yeah.
master's degree.
Yeah. But what I was going to say was that, we still believe, and I think, most people nowadays believe, or I hope that they do. I know there's some that might not, that everybody should think like a futurist. And it's like this. It's like doctors go to school to learn how to really dive deeply into the subject matter, and I don't want a plumber operating on me, but I definitely want my plumber to stay healthy and to practice, good eating habits, good sleep hygiene, all the stuff that doctors would want you to do, right? Like everybody needs to be practicing health.
Yeah.
But not everybody's necessarily a doctor.
That's a good point. Yeah.
This is better than Dr. Phil's like
Dr. Phil.
I mean,
who's not a doctor.
I saw him trying to make an analogy yesterday. It's like, if I'm driving 20 miles an hour in a 10-mile-an-hour zone, I'm like, this is not working for me at all. So,
Dr. Phil's the one that says, how's that working for you?
how's that
I know
working?
how he had a show for
Oprah.
so many years.
Oprah.
No.
I think this is a whole
people.
This is a whole nother
How do we-
podcast live stream.
How do we-
I think we need to freshly examine, and by I think I mean me, our fascination and relationship with Miss Oprah Winfrey, and sort of look. I'm just saying, look, she's a human being. That's all I'm saying. And she's a human being that happens to be a billionaire who's made some questionable choices.
Yeah,
so
She has.
but
She has.
it's neither here nor there. Dr. Phil and then Dr. Emmett, right? Oz. Dr.
Oz.
Oh
Oz.
my gosh. What? Anyway, that's really off topic. We go a
But
lot off
Taylor
topic.
doesn't have that chapter yet.
Not yet. We'll see.
So
Oh my God, that is so dark.
I should have too. Okay, I mentioned that I haven't seen them both together since the holidays. So I have other gifts for them. And one specifically to Frank, but
hopefully something to do with my neck.
Yvette, that was prior. Yvette has been on the Taylor Swift kick for a long time.
Yeah.
She was really on board before we were. We respected the stories, but we had to buy in a little bit. So I got you, and I felt like it was the perfect time to reveal.
Oh my God.
That you are in your futurist era, and it is the TFSX version.
That is really cute.
Your fake coffee.
I don't know. It's probably
I'm in.
But it's really cute.
In my futurist era. Oh, that's cute.
That's really cute.
That's nice.
Cute.
Well, that is awesome.
That's really sweet.
Well, that's what we want to talk about today, because I don't know if any of you who are watching and those who maybe watch later got a chance to see, but everybody here on this
illustrious
panel here wrote a similar blog piece, in my futurist era. We all wrote our own.
With different chapters of our versions. Yeah.
And all different, showing how we all arrived at futurist thinking and foresight from very different places, and bring our diversity into the field in that way, and together as a team.
Yeah.
If you haven't read my blog piece, I'll share this little nugget with everybody. Some of you have heard before. I've shared this on some podcasts.
Good nugget.
And that is that when I was in elementary school, and I remember this like it was yesterday, and it was a long time ago. My parents, we moved into this really cool 3-story home in Savannah, Georgia, historic Savannah, Georgia. And out back was this basically a dilapidated garage. I think my parents were this was also like the 70s. So they were like playing in the ditch, in the garage.
Do you?
Yeah, you run around, do whatever. You guys have no idea, unless you were born back in the 60s or 70s or whatever, how much it is so different. I mean, literally, when I say your parents were like crawling into that gnome bridge right there, I mean, and see you tomorrow, that's exactly how that went down. So we would go out there. We set up a whole Super 8 camera movie studio. We thought we were the coolest thing ever, and we read all the magazines back in the day, Starlog and Fangoria and Analog Magazine, all these sci-fi magazines that focused on Star Trek and Star Wars, and how the artists made the masks and how they made the sets and all this. And of course, we made these 7th grade versions of them. Gosh, I wish you guys could have been there. It'd be crazy. We would make these big dioramas, because we had these friends that made these like war dioramas. And so they made this diorama, and we set up the camera on like a panning, tilt.
Oh, wow.
And then what we did is we got fishing line and we ran it from the camera down into this like landing base. And we had like Battlestar Galactica ships and we would like run them past the camera like this. So it would come over the camera. I mean, that's pretty ingenious.
I can see little Frank.
Very
Can't you?
impressive,
I
very
have a
impressive,
vision.
yeah.
And then later we found out that like, if you want to do a really cheesy version of special effects, you could go back to the actual film. So you take your Super 8 reel and you look very carefully, you get a magnifying glass and you see where the reels are, where the ship's going down. And you take a like colored pen and you scratch onto it. And it looked like as it went by, you had to do it frame by frame by frame. It was shooting a laser as it came out. And this is why I'm a futurist today. And that's what you're paying for.
Actually, they probably love it if we did scenarios that way.
Right.
They would like it.
Yeah.
They would probably like it.
That was sort of my, I thought back then I was going to be a special effects artist or a makeup artist, a sci-fi makeup artist. That's what I wanted to do. That didn't pan out. So here I am.
This is fun. This is fun.
And cue the womp womp.
Yeah, really. Okay, let's see.
Oh.
What happened instead is this is a hard left turn, but what happened instead is I went into the ministry, which I don't know where the connection of these two things are. But for those
I also don't have anything to go with that, but I do have, I don't know. Does that,
get out of the way, out the way, out the way.
I don't know. Is this better?
No.
No, okay. Okay.
But I do think that it was a part of the, my only way to relate that to any of that is that the enchantment, the mystery, the beyond self and all this, which actually there was a segue there because I was in the ministry for a long time, but it finally got to be where I was like, we need to care about people here and now, on earth, not waiting to go to some afterlife, and I ended up meeting Dr. Jay Gary, who was in the World Religious Future Society at the time, one of the most amazing futurists alive today. And he became my mentor, and I got under his wing for many, many years. And he started a master's program at Regent University, and I was one of the first students in that particular master's program. Of course, you can go to Houston or Hawaii or all those great places too. And then, and the rest of the story was one day I was in a van in Vancouver and I met Yvette. So the rest of that story, but that's sort of my futurist eras. I went from geek to pastor to foresight professional. What is your story?
You went through your eras very quickly. There's so much within each of them.
So
We could talk about the overlap as we go along. Yeah.
We can go deeper. If it's helpful. If it's helpful.
I mean, I'm sure there's lots of questions about the ministry chapter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, if you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them. But it's like, I think one of the main things is like, wherever you come from, it's there's so many paths into anything, of course. And not to ever discount anything that you've gone through. It's all worthwhile stuff getting you to where you are right now.
Yeah.
I did not have the privilege of dancing with Fosse hands, but somebody here might have done similar Fossiness. If you don't know who Fosse is, you're about to find out.
Yeah. Well, mine starts with a dance, and of course,
I have questions.
Thank you, Becky.
I like what you're.
Do it.
Yeah, Becky, you might
We all
need
have questions.
a separate
Yeah,
call
a separate
because
session.
there is very, very interesting details.
It's a lot to
there.
unpack there.
A lot, and several years of that chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, maybe less interesting than the ministry.
I don't know.
It's a hard transition.
We should have had him go last.
Let me talk about dancing.
I can talk about the ministry of Mickey Mouse,
That's
but that's about it.
Oh, it is all a ministry. Really.
It's really-
It's all a community we're trying to fit.
Or a cult.
It's kind of like a ministry of dance.
It's fine. It's a fine line.
It's a fine line.
Mhm.
A ministry of dance. I mean,
Ministry of dance. The
Yeah.
ministry of dance.
Mod for short.
There was sort of like a new wave band back in the 80s called the Ministry.
yeah. Well,
I don't know how
there's
that's
lots of
useful
studies
information.
showing how music is the new religion, the new
true.
organized
That's-
religion.
That's true.
Yeah. So let's see, if it's connecting all the dots now.
We use that Footloose. We use Footloose in our playlist. So anyway, go ahead.
No, because I wouldn't have like even coming in 10 years ago now, I've been alongside Yvette and Frank. And in the beginning, I wouldn't have made this correlation that it started here. But for me, looking back now, it really was dance. And so the quick and dirty of it is since 5, I've been dancing. I was classically trained, ballet, jazz, tap, modern, you know, all of the categories. And I had this moment, 1999,
Party
New
like
York
it's,
City.
party like it's 1999.
There she
Nicole.
was.
There it was.
Prince,
Yeah.
Nicole, cocaine fest in New York City.
Stop that.
Jeez.
It's 99.
That
George Party,
escalated very
like it's
quickly.
99. Yes, I did
Escalated
it
very
a different
quickly.
way, a very different way. My family and I went to New York City for the first time. My mom, you know, knew my love and dedication to dance. So what was playing at the time on Broadway was a Fosse showcase. So Bob Fosse is an infamous choreographer. Why is this important? Why is dance important?
You know, jazz hands.
This is the token Fosse hand.
Yeah.
You see like a lot of circles around. All of the movements are inverted. So whereas a dancer should hold themselves really high and like have very graceful fingers and everything, Fosse is like sharp, crass, sexy, inverted. And so we went to see the Fosse showcase and he had already passed away. And
Rip
Fosse. And people like Anne Reiking and all of these other famous dancers and choreographers gathered together to put on this showcase for him.
That's awesome.
And so it was dances from Sweet Charity and all that jazz. You know, all of the famous Pippin.
Yeah.
And I tell you that I wept. Chicago, a couple, I wept through that performance. It was like,
that's cool.
It spoke to me
That's cool.
And it affirmed the type of dancer I was because I had never like fit into ballet. I never fit into these categories. And seeing that choreography and connecting to it was a huge moment for me of affirmation. Followed by discovering modern dance. Again, it's like you get to be low in your movements. Usually you're high and elevated. And so it was, there's dance, and then it was like me finding this type of dance that was disruptive, if you will, or like outside the norms, right?
Love that.
And then of course there's this whole other side of dance and foresight. And it's like creating realities for people to jump into. Their empathy machines, you know, basically is you're creating movement to pull other people into a story. And so, I mean, obvious now, you know, that's what that was, that correlation, but that was really the moment for me.
We need to market to more dancers. What are we doing?
Yeah,
I know, right? But a lot of people, you said you wanted to be creative.
Yes.
When you were a little Frank.
Yes.
And you were, you know, doing your etching and your sci-fi videos.
Robots.
We say, you know, the formula for foresight, creativity, plus intuition, plus research, plus data.
That is super interesting.
That's exciting.
Because like, I think of all of us here, and I'm sure everybody in here is, and you have so many people saying like, I'm not creative, but then you go back and find out there is this creative, something that you've done in your life. And I bet that's the case for everybody that's listening on this live stream. But that's really cool. I love this idea. And of course, we also talk about embodied foresight. And that's a piece that you really bring to the table here, you know. And I think whether it's like literally doing an embodied foresight during the day or just bringing that mindset and that attitude to the day is more important. So,
I love the way that you talk about scenarios even, right? It's like you have to jump people into these spaces, into these times, into these experiences. They have to feel it.
Yes.
And so that's another way to embody, to move, to feel time and space, understand it, look around, accept it, and make decisions.
That's right.
That's
I like it. I like it.
Where did you start? Tell us.
Well, I'll pull on the creativity thing. I'll do stuff that's not even in the blog because, you know, I don't even remember what was in the blog at this point. But Frank helped finish mine because it wasn't long enough. I was the first one to write mine, and it was a little while ago. It was a minute ago.
Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking about the creativity piece, and I remember when I was, you know, getting ready to head to the University of Florida to start my undergrad. And you have to, you know, obviously declare your major, you have to decide your major. And both my parents were accountants. And I, would sit down with my dad, and of course my dad, not of course, but my dad had a, large influence in my life. And so I remember sitting down with him and him saying, what should you major in? I'm like, yeah, Dad, what should I major in? Because I don't know. I didn't have like super strong passions. Like as a little kid, I remember wanting to be a teacher at one point, which is funny now. But like, when I said that to him, he's like, it's going to be hard to make a living as a teacher, as an accountant,
Yeah.
Could you see Yvette in a classroom all day with like 8-year-olds or 9-year-olds?
Likely no. Likely
Yeah.
no.
No,
Yeah.
she'd have to be one of the teachers today that's an influencer teacher.
Yeah,
Like always has the camera on.
we basically are.
Yeah.
I mean, basically
But
we
for
are.
the youth.
Yeah.
in the
Oh yeah, you
classroom.
see them, and she's like, and
Yeah.
to the classroom. Okay, everybody sing along, and they say, "We've got bad blood."
Yeah, exactly.
To the math equation.
That would be it.
We're never gonna add.
So,
together.
so he says like, yeah, you don't want to be a teacher because you like to eat, and there's just not going to be a lot of income there. So, so he says, but
No offense to
accounting.
teachers that are watching today, because
No, they know that they're not getting paid properly. I mean, there's no
and we want to
offense.
change that.
Yeah, I mean, there's go Gators.
Go Gators. We're both skaters.
Mhm. Frank's a Gator by association, and
I don't know that you want to be.
you want to
he doesn't get a choice.
He doesn't get real
He
excited.
doesn't get a choice. So he was like, my dad was like, you can't really be an accountant. You can't really be an accountant because you are too creative. He was like, you're not going to really like being an accountant. And so that's when he said you should major in finance. So that's literally how I ended up.
That's funny.
That's funny, but also sad that I didn't really have any like strong convictions or passions. And I was like, sounds good to me. And
sign me up.
Yeah. And I already I had so many credits going in to UF, and I had a boyfriend that was a year ahead of me. So I
You had other interests.
I like flew through my college experience in like 3 years, like basically. So before I knew it, I was graduating with a finance degree.
I'm taking notes here, so let's tell the real story. Sounds good to me. I don't really care what I major in as long as I go to the college for my boyfriend.
I know. No, that was actually true. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying
you were trouble when you
it just worked out. It just worked out for me. So I did do well at university. I'll have you know.
I don't know that. I mean,
I was a good student.
Did you ever make a B ever, like from first through?
Yeah, no, I mean,
degree?
in high school I was pretty much straight A's. In college I got 2 B pluses,
and
which
you remember. I remember the classes.
it was like a beginner marketing and a beginning management.
It's always a
class.
beginner thing. You're like,
Yeah.
Because they required you to memorize, and there wasn't like real learning. And I don't have a very good
You want to
memory.
critically
That's
think.
Yeah. So I'm so glad we get to cover these high important issues during this live stream. So anyway, fast
we
forward.
have an unnatural and a sad pride over the fact that first through 12th grade we were like A students. So nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
But we're like,
But we have to tell everybody now. A plus. So I found myself working for the Walt Disney Company, and that journey is a story of itself, and did that successfully for a number of years. But again, it gave me the creative outlet, because finance for Disney is very different than traditional finance, probably. But even within the finance ranks at Disney, I sort of was not, which one of these kids is doing her own thing, type of thing. So, so when they asked me to start the foresight group, I at first said no, and then I thought better of it and decided to say yes. And it was within the HR function. So I was a little bit like not sure, because my background's not in HR, but yeah, the foresight thing just cut through, and I was doing that for about a year, just trying to figure out how to establish this entity within a very conservative organization. With what I shared on LinkedIn was a very toxic boss, turns out. And and so I was sort of at a crossroads where I was like, okay, I can't, hiring more futurists isn't really getting me where I want to go. I need to develop this skill within me. And then I went to the World Future Society conference in Vancouver, and this guy got in my airport van. And we, obviously walked Vancouver after that, and worked together to establish the, team at Disney and then Walt Disney International. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think the creativity piece is a part of it, although I don't consider myself, just generally speaking, a creative person. I'm definitely got more of the business side of the house from a TFSX perspective, but I think the ability to challenge the way things have always been done is very, very intoxicating to me.
I want to stop you there that you're not a creative person,
Yeah,
right? Like, what is that?
I don't know. It's like like me. It's like I'm not making art and like
You're
I'm
not dancing.
See, that's,
dancing.
but see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like people think because I'm not making art or I'm not
Right.
dancing that I'm not creative, and
No.
that's not what creativity is. And it's like that has created. Well, I don't know because so has Nicole, but it's like that has created more stuff here certainly than I have, and yeah, I mean this is a super creative team.
Yeah.
It's an amazingly super creative team.
I was talking to someone just last week, and she was asking me, when you're forming a foresight team, what type of people should you look for?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm.
And I think she asked me specifically functions,
Mm.
and I said, I could, give you a function, but I want to challenge you to think differently about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about characteristics of people, right? So we're talking about creativity as one of those. I think it's interesting, somebody like yourself who is in finance, right? And there's different functions that might be traditionally more analytical, your legal teams, your finance, your accounting, etc. But those people just don't have permission to think this way.
Often that's the case.
There's talent within those groups. If they were told, like, hey, your metric is a bit different here of how we're measuring your output, and you can be invulnerable and you can be creative, that would, allow them to produce something completely different than normal, and really just like develop, ownership in their roles, engagement, and we don't do that. And so some of those characteristics are, like welcoming diverse thoughts, being courageous. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you went in the Disney organization, you had to be really courageous. Yes, it was great you were assigned the workforce futurist, but then you had to really go on the road show.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's courage, and it's so much of this work is relational. Like, I think that's why we've been so successful as a team, is because that is such a difference. It's easy to be courageous when you feel like you have trust and people trust you. And so I think the courage comes. I think people mistake sometimes courage for thinking, I don't care about the implications of this or the impacts of this, right? That's not obviously what it is, but that's what we've been trained to think when we think about courage, especially in an organizational setting. But yeah, I mean, at Disney, it was not easy. I think any organizational futurist will tell you that it's difficult. I mean, really practicing foresight anywhere is challenging because our systems are built to work against this. So, so having the courage of your convictions and having courage to know we need to do this. This is the right thing, not just for ourselves, for our communities, but for society. Like, we have to start thinking differently, friends, and we have to get more people thinking this way, or there's not going to be much left to have courage about, right? So, but I think the relationship piece is what differentiates the way that we practice foresight, and the way the people that are attracted to this way of doing things with natural foresight understand the relationship piece and connecting with people and making the future about people. When you do that, I think it solves a lot of the other issues, right?
Yeah. And that was really kind of the next chapter for me, was the people part. So I was studying communication in my master's degree, was working and then doing my master's degree in communication. And early on, we had to choose a path in the master's degree. You could either go mass comm, which is your crisis communications, your public relations, or interpersonal communication. And I went to an ethnography course. And again, I just had one of those moments. She was talking about the research that she did in Japanese bathhouses and how she did a 2-year ethnographic study on these women, and how for the first time that they would talk and share their very private lives just in this bathhouse situation. So I was hooked on the qualitative, moved into social construction, started writing my thesis, which took way too long. But you know, eventually, you know, there's information in between, but connecting it to foresight, I think for all of us in this space, it's like, well, duh, it's the future's about people. Duh, it's about relationships, because we all get that.
That's right.
But I mean, so much of the world doesn't.
Oh no, look at what Sohail posted. He asked ChatGPT, what does a futurist look like?
Yeah.
And it
the
was like,
picture.
it was literally, first it was male, not surprising,
No.
but also like robotic,
Yes.
technologically. I mean, even
Yeah.
like show me a person who's a futurist and it couldn't even show a person. It was
Right.
so technologically integrated, and it's
I know.
pulling from our zeitgeist. It's
That's
pulling
right.
from, you know, the internet.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where the
Yeah.
information comes from.
Yeah. So I think it's beautiful when we all come together, but we need to, and we have that ideology about what we should prioritize and what we care about. But we have to remember that there's still a lot of convincing to do around that, and the power of small impact. Because also a lot of times we get overwhelmed. We're like, imposter syndrome. How do I have the ability to contribute to large change?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's by having these courageous conversations.
Yeah, and starting with
people
yourself,
around
right?
you.
Starting with yourself. Like so many people get really overwhelmed. They say, oh, I don't have the authority. I don't have agency. Look, there were lots of times, even at Disney, where I supposedly headed up a department where I didn't really have like much agency to move the needle, but I could develop myself. I could develop the skill set in myself and my sphere of influence. And I think that's what we forget. If we all empower ourselves, and then, you know, bringing others along, I think is a big part. But I mean, I'm guessing that that's probably one of the lessons from your background in terms of the relationship piece.
That's
and
right.
The connections.
It's relational. It's about people. You know, because one of the things that I didn't talk about is that, you know, when I was in my undergrad, I was studying sociology and psychology. But again, that's not the perfect path to be a futurist. It's just that, you know, in the end, whatever it is, it's about people. I'm still blown away by this whole techno thing that we're in. Because it's not that technology is bad. We've always had technology. Fire roses technology. Technology is a you know, helper in our own pathway to development as a species. But why do we imagine that the future is some techno version instead of imagining us all living in a green valley? And somehow it's like, well, Green Valley was the past, you know, but it's like, it would be a wonderful future.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And so it's really weird how we had these, you know, ideas about technology as the savior and that kind of thing. And again, this is not an anti-technology rant, but it's just about, it's the people part. And you're right, you know, even in going back to the ministry piece, you know, it was like
that is
the people that came and the relationships that we had with one another, and just you know, the story that I could tell that over time there was this, you know, transition away from like running a ministry that was about going away to some paradise place to, you know, bringing, you know, justice to people here. And then the transition became, you know, quite easy, which is interesting because, like, and as I said earlier, Jay Gary, when I first met him, was working on I forget exactly what they called it, but at the time, the governor of Colorado was running a year 2000. It was almost Y2K. It was 99. And they were running like a year 2000 evangelism thing. But these guys were very focused on, you know, and I use this in air quotes, heaven, like the you know, peace and joy and prosperity and all that being something that people experienced here and now, and that homelessness, you know, was taken care of and all of this. And instead of just like, it doesn't, none of these things matter, we're all leaving, you know. And so, you know, it's a people orientation. And I can't say how grateful I am to all the people in my life. I could go back and just name so many people. I named Jay. And of course, these two wonderful people that are sitting next to me. And there's so many people I can name right now that have all been people-oriented people. And that's why today also you see me, you know, gravitate to people like Nora Bates and Benita Roy and Ryan Eisler and Jonathan Rouse. And these are all people. I was going to name another name. Who was the Team Human? Daniel Rushkoff. If you ever get to listen to Team Human podcast, yeah, please do. He's all about we're on team human,
Yeah.
not team technology.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
So
about people.
I think
Nora calls her one data workshop. People need people.
People need people.
People
I think it's also this idea, this infatuation with technology when we think about the future is because people are, fearful
Mhm.
of the future. And I think another correlation or another thread from my past, and I think there's similarities here between our journeys, is this desire to demystify things for people.
Mm.
So I remember even as a finance professional, what I was known for was like really helping my internal clients, the operators, understand their numbers and understand how the budgets work. And I wasn't about like, gatekeeping information, abbreviations, or ideas to make myself feel more powerful,
Yeah.
but rather really helping them run their business and showing them this is where we've got the money hidden and this is what you can do. And
yeah.
ultimately, my goal was to help run the business better and help them do their jobs better. That's how I, it wasn't about guarding the company coffers, right?
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So I see that parallel quite a bit in how we approach foresight and democratizing foresight and equipping people. Even when we do client work, we're about building capacity and people and just showing them, here's the answer. Here's the answer key here, folks.
Yeah.
This is how we get comfortable with these ideas.
Yeah.
Well, we love emergence here. So who knew that this was sort of going in this direction?
We
direction
did
it's
zero
going.
prep,
There's
except
zero planning.
except making sure the chairs would fit.
I
That
bought
was it.
this shirt.
That's right. She has the Taylor Swift shirt on. That's
Yeah.
the way
We
you
ordered
want
the
it.
sushi to arrive right after it's
That's
over.
the most prep we've
That's
done
the
in
prep is we ordered the sushi to arrive when this concludes.
Very
That was the
important.
prep. Anyway.
Futurist Tamika Vasquez yesterday, she was writing on she recently was presenting at why am I having so much brain fart today?
You were
Jet
just,
lag, jet lag.
16 hours.
The Aspen Institute.
Oh, yeah.
And but she was saying that what she shared with them, and I thought was just a great post yesterday, and you're seeing more and more of this, where she said, we have to get away from the quantification of this field.
Yeah.
Because the reality is the human ability and skill is towards imaginal anticipation. And so it's the first time I ever saw her say that. She may have believed it forever, but she, I think it's a courageous thing to put that up there. It's like I gave a whole talk on the fact that organizations have to start leaning into their imagination as a skill. It's not some flighty thing. It's a powerful skill that we've put on the back burner as it's only for 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it should be for everybody.
Yeah.
It is for everybody. It's embedded in us. It's a part of what makes us human. And isn't it crazy? That's what makes us human, and we threw it away.
Sad.
And that's, Becky talks about this, sort of depressing technological, I don't know that's exactly what she was saying, but it's like, and again, I'm not anti-tech, but it's like when we over-tech things, we're basically saying, I misanthropy. I don't know if, I trust humans anymore. We blew it. I don't think humans blew it. Ryan Eisler says humans didn't blow it. And I did a great
it's just so obnoxious. Like, I mean, what a place of privilege to be to say, like, God, you're obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like there's so many
We're
people in this world that don't have agency to be able to get through a freaking day.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, well, we'll just let Chat GPT screw you.
Yeah.
Screw you.
Yeah.
There's lots of people that don't
Not
have
aware.
chance. Like, I mean, honestly, like really just take a look in the mirror, really, honestly. I just, it drives me crazy.
It's not to cut you off because I know you've been waiting, but it's like, it's the system.
Yeah, exactly.
Back when Bill Clinton was president, Hillary used to put a sign up for him all the time. This is when it became famous, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I've always looked for the acronym, but there isn't one. It's the system stupid.
Yeah.
And because our systems are about competition, consumption, consumerism, extraction, exploitation, exclusion. And these systems have ripped out from us, what Rutger Bregman in his book Humankind talks about, that we literally are a cooperative species. We're not a competitive species. But anyway, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say something different, but the systems thing I want to riff off of. I know that many of you might work in really difficult organizations or systems right now, and that you might face a lot of that pushback I worked in higher ed for a period of time. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. We're supposed to be honest here, right? It's the unplugged. All right. So I worked with Yvette and Frank for several years. And this is like, this work is so perfect that it's almost like, what's wrong with it? Because it's so perfect. Like, this seems like the best job there could possibly, which it is, I found out.
But also, like, don't you hate it's like, if people knew that, like, literally your job could be an accountant, a finance professional, engineer, but you can make it the best ever by practicing foresight.
You could.
That's the secret.
You could.
You don't even have to hang a shingle.
You really could. But I did leave. I took a sabbatical for a little bit because I had to figure it out. I had to see, was this the path I
Sure.
wanted to be on for the long run?
But we let her come back with open arms.
But I went to higher ed, friends, and the system.
You were like, okay, maybe.
I went in there and I thought, like you, I don't want to gatekeep. I want to help people think differently. Let's put on, a conference for the first time. Let's do all the things. Push back, push back, push back, push back. And I just didn't understand it because we were a continuing education unit. We ran like a, really like a small organization. We had to make our own money. We didn't get funding from the university.
Right. Adult learning, the executive learning.
You had to have an entrepreneurial mindset to be successful here. But all of these people worked there forever, stayed in their lane, and did nothing. And less than a year and a half, I got super frustrated. And I don't know if you knew, but I came back here. But no, it makes you appreciate your capabilities, more, and that this is just who you are at the end of the day. Like, if you have this in you, free it, unlock it, figure out ways to channel it. And I think so often we get really excited about what we do in our early days of practicing foresight that we want to talk about all of it. But as you get more experience in this, I think people listen to us more when we can really just hear them and maybe even never mention the word foresight, but connect the solution and the pathway, with a foresight fueled approach.
There's got to be a better way.
Every day
Foresight.
Totally true.
Everyday foresight, friends. Everyday foresight.
A lot of people don't know this part of our story, but Yvette and I were not partnering too long before we met Nicole. And this is a little known part of the story, but Nicole actually was doing an ethnographic journey with the Eskimos up in Alaska, what we call her. She had one of these special phones, that you have to call. And we called her. Yeah, she was in an igloo and she was like, foresight, what is foresight? Okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration.
I like that one better. Yeah, I was in Alaska when I got the call from Yvette Frank. I was.
What it was. You were in Alaska.
I was in Alaska. And again, relationships. It was.
Like it's wild, really, when you think about like what had to happen for us to meet, because we, Frank and I, of course, met serendipitously at a conference that both of us thought about not going to.
Yeah.
And we both ended up going, meeting. And then a little bit later is when I sort of jumped ship and joined him as a partner. And then the business was growing right from the beginning, thankfully. And we wanted to get somebody else on the team. And again, this is like just a few months into our formal partnership.
Yeah.
And we were doing a lot of different business development, and we were like, okay, let's go to conferences. And like 1 degree of separation to my Disney HR job, I found out about a conference that was happening here in Florida. I could drive to it. And, went down there. I mean, not as a speaker or anything. Obviously, this was early on. I just went and I tried to do the networking thing. And I'm outgoing, but I suck at networking. Still do. Don't like it. Prefer to do this. But yeah, ended up sitting next to somebody who, worked at UCF. And we, exchanged business cards. And there wasn't anything like at the time, I didn't know we were going to be hiring. It was just sort of like making connections, sharing with people what we were doing. And then lo and behold, fast forward a few months later, we were like, no, we really want to hire someone. So I wrote to Lonnie and said, hey, do you have a business major? Because, you know, I'm a finance person. So certainly
back to the old,
back to the unconscious bias.
Yeah.
And because that was part of what he did, is career coach.
He did for MBA students.
Yeah.
He was in charge of job placement.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, pull from those folks. And he's like, you know, I could totally do that. But I think based on what you're describing, I've got a better person for you.
Yeah.
And you weren't an MBA student, but happened to work with Lonnie.
Well, that was again a thinking differently. I was doing my thesis. It was interviewing HR people. And I said, why is there no community for master's students for the HR space? And he said, well, let's kind of create one. So we thought about what that might look like. And it was the same timing that you both reached out.
Friends, create your path. Like, just create your path. Like, think about what you're passionate about, and those doors will open. You will find your people. And, you know, we hope we're some of your people, but honestly, if the lesson here, regardless of whether it's foresight or not, I mean, foresight's a powerful tool to use in an organizational setting, but it's even more powerful to do for you personally, to change the way you think. Like, we naturally think this way, whether you don't or do, using these skills to open up your perspective and see adjacencies, see opportunities where others don't. Don't take the well-worn path, take the other path always, and just be open to different opportunities, because that's literally why the three of us are sitting here talking to you, heading up one of the most successful foresight firms in the world, doing incredible work, touching so many people every day, living our passions, living our best lives together, absolutely loving one another, loving our clients, loving our participants.
I need a big breath. I'm really emotional.
It's true. And you all know it's true. Like, whether we bring our full selves to all of our experiences. I had the opportunity to travel to Dubai with Nicole a few weeks ago. And, you know, I can't get over just the incredible foresight professional she's become, and how much those participants took to her, to the point where when we showed up without her the next time around, there was they almost quit. They all were like, we don't want to do this program anymore without Nicole.
Well, when you have you two, you know, charting the path and giving you all the best practices and learning alongside you, it becomes pretty easy.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's magic, but it's magic, you know, to use a Disney sort of idea. It's magic that we've curated and cultivated for ourselves. And you have to be open to it. And that's what foresight teaches you. It teaches you to be open to these opportunities, to see patterns where others see noise, and to practice foresight as we do, with love, with people at the center. You literally cannot go wrong, friends, if this is how you do it. And, you know, if this speaks to you, you know, we have lots of opportunities this year, in person, online, in a retreat setting, in a traditional sort of learning setting, to join us. And if you're curious, just reach out to any of us. We're happy to jump on a call anytime with anyone to find out how foresight could maybe change your life or set you on a new path.
Absolutely. I see my good friend Vincent, who I'm getting ready to have a conversation with soon. I blew him off on Tuesday. We were supposed to have a meeting.
Wow.
Okay.
I was like, I don't care, Vincent. I don't care about talking to this. No, that's not what happened. As a matter of fact, I was like, Wednesday, I was like, what happened to that call with Vincent? You know, it was me.
I'm the problem.
I'm the problem.
It's me. It's a tale of but, you know, we got the chance to go with he and Anushka, who just hobnobs with the president of Suriname now and everything. So she's too big for us. She's too big for us.
I knew her when.
She's too big for us now. So I like her thing. And she's like, that's cute, you know. And but you know, we've been down there with these special people in Paramaribo and Suriname, and just so many of the relationships we've made around the world. And as both of you have already said, the thing that sticks out to me of my futurist era now is knowing Timothy and knowing Vincent and all the people we've met around the world, and one of our best friends who we met we knew her when she was a baby, and now she's the chair of the Association of Professional
Tanya.
Futurists, Tanya.
Also a dancer.
So crazy. Also a dancer.
Also a dancer.
It's so crazy to have been around so long and know these people that were like,
I know.
you know, I wrote Tanya, I was like, hey, I saw you just graduated from your master's degree, call us, you know, and she was like, oh my God. And now I'm calling her going like, well, you're the president of the APF, man. Yeah, help me. It's just so amazing to have these relationships. And I was going to say, you know, because I know that that was sort of wrapping us up because we're running out of time here, but I would love it, you know, for those of you.
Construct.
That's a construct. For those of you who are like still listening, you know, put in the chat, you know, it's like how you got to Futures, you know, briefly. It's like I got here through this, or I got here through this, and this is what brought me to my Futures era. You know, we'd love to hear from you.
Definitely reach out to us. We're all on LinkedIn. If you're a member of our MyTFSX community, you can reach out there. You know, again, our goal is to further elevate the field of foresight, to bring it to more and more people across the globe. And we do that through you all, because, you know, we're not a huge team on purpose. We really enable our work through the people that we equip with these skills. You are the vehicle by which we democratize foresight. Each of you need to feel empowered, and in whatever way we can do to help you do that, to bring foresight back to your communities, to your families, to your lives, to your professions. That's what we're here for. So thank you so much for joining. This has been
fantastic.
Super fun. Didn't it fly by?
FOMO now when I'm not on here.
When we were setting up, it's like so nerve-wracking. I've tried to explain to people like how the live stream differs from like doing a Zoom, or like, obviously we do a lot of this stuff in the studio or online. There is something about clicking like go live now on YouTube that immediately makes me sweat.
Like, yeah, why am I so sweaty?
Yeah, so sweaty. So sweaty. So sweaty. So I think that
No, I'm just saying, Vince is still hanging tough here. And I'll never forget this story. It's great.
Oh,
Yvette,
15. I remember.
So Yvette met Vincent at ATD
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah.
Yes.
He walks up to her after her presentation and said, oh, I want you to come to Suriname. I want you to come to Paramaribo. And so she comes back all excited to the rest of the team, to us, and she goes, we're going to Africa.
Oh,
It's not in Africa, friends.
she was willing to go because of Vincent.
Wherever.
Because of Vincent.
Vincent was amazing. I remember him showing his badge, and it said Suriname.
That feels like yesterday you telling us that story.
I know.
That's crazy.
Well, how about Timothy's on this line, and he called us and said, I watched the presentation from Frank Spencer, and it changed my life, and now I've taught my children foresight, and now he's a member of the GFAC, and he's coming
Timothy is
to
the best.
transformation
The
in
best.
September.
Timothy is the best.
It's like when you think of top humans that you've met.
Top humans. They should have a show. Top chefs.
Top
Yeah.
Friends, we would love to include you as part of our TFSX family, like Timothy and Vincent. Lots of opportunities in 2024 to join us at one of our foundation's think tanks, or to become certified, or to join us at our retreat.
Ooh, the retreat.
Please come on out.
Damn.
Spaces are available in all of our programs. And we'll see you next time around. I think we're taking April off because we're just too busy.
Yes.
No, but we have one in March. We have a live stream in March.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're talking
doing Future of Energy.
Yes.
In March,
Yes.
right?
Future of Energy. Yes. We just decided.
Yes. Future of Energy.
Yes. Future of Energy. So energy, sustainability, all of those things. But thank you. A special thanks to Emily managing the chat and helping us get technologically fluent on this. And we're going to go have some sushi, as we've said repeatedly on this podcast and live stream. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye, everybody. Take care. Much
Take
love.
care.
All right. Let's see if I can figure out how to make this not awkward. Here we go.